Hello and welcome to week 5, where we are going to be talking about telling the story in the cards. So, this is about stepping away from the Rider-Waite-Smith traditional meaning of the cards and stepping into our intuition. Now, I'm not a person who would tell you not to learn the traditional meanings of the cards. I think you should. In fact, there's an enormous amount of imagery and meaning that, particularly in the Rider-Waite-Smith, that summarizes all the cards that's come before, that you'll find so powerful, particularly if you're wanting to extend your spiritual practice. But we use that as a guide. It's really about connecting with your deck and really getting up close and personal with the cards that makes the difference in your reading. So with the magic of cyberspace, I'm going to spin the camera around and I'm going to show you my workbook and how to record a reading, and also I'm going to take you through a reading to demonstrate the whole idea of finding the story in the cards. So bye-bye for now, and we'll spin around.
So with the magic of the internet, here I am, and this is our course workbook, of course, that I've been talking about all the way through the course. And we are going to do week 5, which is telling the story in the cards. And what I thought might be really good is to actually do one of these worksheets that's in the workbook. These worksheets are connected to our the quiz that I got you to do right at the very beginning of the course. And I've got also some 3-card reading layouts and some single card reading layouts for you as well. But I thought we'd do this particular worksheet as like a working demonstration. And what I've got for you is my symbol sheet comes in there, and also the reading style worksheet. So if I was going to do a reading using this particular worksheet, I just shuffle my cards, and let's start with the first 2 cards. And let's ask the question, what can I do to improve my psychic tarot readings? What do I need to know to improve my psychic tarot readings? So we place our cards down. And if I was going to read these cards on face value, I might say, well, you're feeling pretty confident in your psychic tarot reading. You've got the challenge of somebody who is a little bit emotional and maybe a little bit could be a little bit needy. Around you, perhaps, they might be holding you back or being a little bit controlling. In the past, you perhaps haven't believed in yourself, but you're confident enough now to move into the future and manage your emotions, and just leave it at that. And really, there isn't the depth there in the reading that I think is there for you. So the first card, if we look at the 6 of Wands, that's a card about confidence and feeling really strong in taking action. So what that tells me is you feel really good about your readings at the moment. However, in the past, maybe you haven't. Maybe you haven't. And how I tend to read the challenge or the crossing card is, I might say something like, if it's a court card, I tend to read it in 2 ways. You can read it in the traditional way, which is somebody is in your life who is very strong in how they manage emotion and sometimes can be a little bit overbearing. Or Or you might even be a little bit more intuitive in the way you read and say, is this card not necessarily someone coming into this person's life as representing them? Are they too emotionally overbearing? Are they too rigid in the way that they manage their emotions because they're so confident? Because maybe they've overcome some really big obstacles in the past in terms of how they've managed emotion. And moving forward, rather than reading this as someone's going to be in your life who manages, you've got a young person coming into your life, perhaps a young male who handles their emotions very carefully, I would be looking at the deeper meaning and wondering whether this is also about this person managing their emotion. Because if we look at this whole reading, and this is where it's so important to look at the whole reading, we're looking at the burning issue, the challenge, past influences and future potentials. If we look at this, our challenge is a Cups card. Our past influences is a Cups card. And our future potential is also a Cups card. So this is emotion. This is emotion. So if we tell the story in the cards, what we're looking at is perhaps that these cards are not talking about someone coming into their life, but they're actually talking about this person and saying, now you all may disagree with my interpretation, and this is the beauty of reading the cards intuitively, that here this is about stepping out into the world with care and precision, holding on to your emotion, measuring your emotion, taking your steps carefully. Look at the horse. This is certainly not the Knight of Wands dashing out, or the Knight of Swords dashing out. This is a horse that's stepping carefully, holding the cup so as to be careful not to spill emotion. And if you look here in the past, this is about focusing on things that have gone wrong, not things that have gone right. But there's been some overcoming here, particularly because Six of Wands is so much about confidence and being followed by others. So if we look at that particular reading as a whole, the other things that I can see is there's 3 cups. So we definitely look at the types of cards in the reading. There's also 2 royal cards, which is, again, it's either people coming into this person's life who are going to give strong, measured, emotional guidance. So it could be that, or it could be that it's the person within themselves. And this is a strong message because 2 of the cards are Royal Arcana cards. The other thing that's important to look at, if you're looking at the reading as a whole and telling the story in the cards, is look at the blue sky here. And blue sky is about clarity. It's about clear vision. So thinking about something that you can see in the cards that brings the cards together, and immediately that screams at me that this is about taking action, focusing on emotion, but making sure that you take clear, careful steps. And of course, all of these cards are minor arcana cards. I can't see any major arcana cards at all. So that's also part of telling the story in the cards, in that we know this is everyday happenings. It's about taking action in your life. It's not about the deeper feelings. So the cards are actually saying, I know where you are now and I know where you were. Your challenge is to manage this emotion, because actually when you look at these 2 cards, they're quite different. This card is very open. It's very triumphant. You can see the wreath of triumph here on the top of the wand, but it's a very open card, whereas this is a very closed card. And it's basically like a quite an opposite, because I know where you are now, you're in confidence, but I know where you've been, and this is where you need to be going. So the cards are very, very clear in terms of what's come out here. It's interesting, there's two horses, and both horses are walking. You can see, although this horse is in triumph, and it's all dressed up in dressage, and he's got his beautiful red cloak of passion, he's not, striking out like the Knight of Swords. He's not galloping, nor is this horse. So this is about being mindful to take measured steps. So again, if you look at the cards more deeply, and this is where, if you can slow down, and my Connect with Your Deck journal that takes you through all of the tarot cards one at a time is another really good resource you can use to help you connect with these cards individually. You start to be able to read the cards very differently. You get a much deeper, more personal connection with them than just sprouting off the meanings. And you can see when I'm reading it, it's not that I disregard the meanings, but I step more into the meanings from an intuitive perspective. And I look at the actual spread as a whole and see what I can see. So if I was going to record this in my journal, you can either put this, as I said, into your journal, or you can use my workbook, one or the other. I've got my tarot symbols here for you that come in my workbook. The first card is Six of Wands. So we use the wand symbol, and we put a 6. Then we've got 5 of Cups. So again, we use the Cups symbol, and we just put a 5. And I just do it really basic like this. I think I was saying to you that, the more beautiful you make it, the more less likely you are to do it often, because you spend so much time and get so caught up on your handwriting and everything else that it doesn't happen. And reading the tarot is not about handwriting. The King of Cups, so we use a K and we draw a cup. And the Knight of Cups, KN, what am I doing? And a King of Cups down here. So we put the K for King and a cup as well. And it's interesting when you do that, you can see your cups very clearly as the 3 cards. And that means that reading's recorded now, and you can go back and you can reference that reading any time. Your question, again, how can I improve my reading? How can I improve my readings as a psychic tarot reader? You put the date. Today's the 27th of August 2019, and the deck used was the Rider-Waite-Smith. And then you would add your reflections down the bottom. I encourage you, again, there's only 4 lines. Don't write lots. Don't make this a chore, or you just, especially if you're super busy, you won't do it. And then the great thing to do is to think about, well, when I look back in a month or 2 months, was I in a space where I was overconfident? Did I challenge myself with the way that I manage my emotion? Have I really stepped away from focusing on all the things that have gone wrong and not the things that are working? Have I managed to hold on to that massive transformation from where I was to where I am now? And am I able to carry my emotion? And it's interesting because here this person clearly is not carrying their emotion well, and yet they are here. Have they managed to move into that space? So that's where you can go back and reflect on what you've written, and perhaps write some more notes about, make some space on the back even to write some more notes about whether that was helpful for you or not. And that's where the tarot can be so powerful, even as a self-reflective tool. So I hope that's helpful for you. Please come into the Facebook group to the dedicated post, which you will find in your email, and share with us your psychic tarot reading or your tarot reading style readings. And if you bought the workbook, please photograph your workbook page and ask any questions that you have. This is a great opportunity to practice your reading. And if you're stuck, even if you're stuck with the reading on what it might mean, photograph the reading, put it up in that post, and let us all give you some feedback. So I hope that's helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you in week 6, which is our last week, which is all about bringing everything together. And what better way than to get a special message from the tarot by learning to calculate our birth card. So I will see you then. Bye-bye.